incredible opportunities here for people who want to work in the social sector and the nonprofit sector. I was able to work as an Education Pioneers Fellow at an organization called New Schools Venture Fund in San Francisco. New Schools Venture Fund is a venture philanthropy that funds education entrepreneurs and a lot of charter schools, education technology firms, and also human capital organizations like Teach for America and the New Teacher Project. And we worked on a project evaluating the assistance that New Schools Venture Fund provides to organizations in its portfolio. So I got to interview the heads of a lot of education organizations I've been hearing about for years, places like Green Dot Public Schools in LA, which is a charter school management organization that turns around failing high schools in LA and got a lot of publicity for the turnaround of Locke High School. So I was working at New Schools Venture Fund, which gave me an incredible window into the education world and really opened a lot of doors in terms of connections and just sheer knowledge that I gained over the summer.
But I've always had a passion for nonprofit sort of wildlife conservation and environmental issues. And a large part of the reason I came to SOM was to explore how I could transition to a career in conservation. Well, last year I worked for a conservation nonprofit in Washington, D.C. called RARE. RARE is a relatively small but rapidly growing conservation group that essentially partners with large organizations like the World Wildlife Fund and runs conservation campaigns all over the world. Right now, they have about 45 or 50 campaigns running simultaneously in Mongolia, China, the Philippines, Madagascar, all over Latin America and South America. And the way that they think about conservation is by engaging and empowering local community ownership and local pride over conservation activities, which is sort of what makes conservation sustainable in the long term.
This summer I worked with the San Francisco Office of Financial Empowerment. The main project I worked on was designing the kindergarten to college program, which is going to start this spring and will open up college savings accounts for every kindergartner in the city of San Francisco. Essentially the way the program works is once you enroll in kindergarten, you get $50 into a savings account. And then if you qualify for free reduced lunch, you get another $50. And if your parents contribute in that first year up to $100, the city will match that. And what's really great about that is not so much financially. You can project 13 years in the future, college is going to cost way more than it does even now. But it really sets the expectation from the very beginning that you're going to go to college and there are people in the city and your family that want to support you as you go through that.
I spent my summer with Education Pioneers, and I was in the Los Angeles cohort, and I worked at the LA Department County Office of Education in their Head Start program. And through Education Pioneers, I was able to have my first experience working directly in the education sector. And with the program, I was able to learn a lot about what's happening in urban education reform, which is really helping prepare me for pursuing a career in education after school. And I plan to commit my career to serving kids and helping to close the achievement gap through education.
This summer I used Internship Fund money to work at an organization called Project Health. What that organization does is it works with clinics and hospitals in low-income areas to help their patient population more systematically connect to medical needs that are kind of associated with healthcare still. So getting food, getting shelter, those kind of pieces that make sure people are leading healthy lives outside of the medical center. For the organization, what I did was spend a bunch of time working on two big projects. One of them was a human capital project, working with the organization to build out a competency model for them. And as I've been in touch with them over the past few months, have learned that they've really kind of taken it on and used it over the last couple months to really kind of hone in on how they do HR work and how they do talent work at the organizations. The other big project I did was work with their senior leadership team to build out Project Health's first ever balanced scorecard. The idea behind a balanced scorecard is a set of organizational metrics that look at a very high level, how the organization is doing financially, how it's doing operationally, how it's doing in terms of social impact.
I worked at a venture philanthropy fund that funds education organizations in the United States that try to close the achievement gap between the high income and low income students in the same districts. And my project at New Schools for the summer was to try to help them figure out how they can improve their management assistance aspect of their fund when they go into raising their next fund and finding their next strategy. So I was tasked with actually visiting 10 different charter management organizations that New Schools funded and interviewing the CEOs there to try to figure out what New Schools helped them achieve and how that relationship could actually help them even more in the future.
The Internship Fund is one of the main reasons that I decided to come to the Yale School of Management.
When I thought about why I wanted to contribute, I wanted to make sure that my classmates, who I think are some of the smartest people out there, are doing what they want to do with their career and also making the impact that they can. And I didn't want someone who was passionate about the social sector to shy away from working there because of funding being a reason.
Internship Fund at SOM is amazing, both because it allows students to think outside the box in terms of what they want to do over the summer. It gave me certainly the freedom to expand my job search, to think about organizations where I might not be able to work because I couldn't afford to have a full-time summer intern.
It gave me the freedom to really explore what I was truly interested in rather than focus on something that might, in the short term, make me more money.
I don't think I would have been able to do it just on essentially minimum wage.
Without the Internship Fund, I don't know if I would have been able to have this type of experience and really gained all those skills and the perspectives of working in education directly.
Not only a great opportunity for me, but help the organization bring in, at least for a small amount of time, someone with kind of this particular set of expertise that can help them move strategic projects forward.
For me to be able to have this experience over the summer was absolutely critical for my career path.